We're going to review the functions that you have on the embroidery edit screen and also when you're on the embroidery screen. So first off, I'm going to just bring in a design so I have something to play with. So let's go ahead and bring in this fun little swirl here. So we've gone ahead and we've played around with telling the machine which hoop that you're working with. Now there is a lot of hoops that show up on this list. Now it will always pick the hoop size closest to the design size or the last hoop that you actually were using. If you don't want so many hoops on your machine, you can actually set that up in the tools or set menu. You can find where hoop selection, you can check off which hoops you own. And so for example, if I own the 120 by 120 and also of course the 360 by 200, those are the two hoops that came with the machine, then you're going to find that the two hoops that are available for you to choose are just the ones that you have set. Now here's the key. If you buy a new hoop, you have to remember to go back in and set that and tell the machine, by the way, I have a third hoop and a fourth hoop. And then those sizes will then be available to use and will come up on your list as solid colors, as options instead of grayed out options as you're seeing here. But that will save you a lot of time. So I do prefer to go in and set my hoops for that particular reason. All right, so we've got our hoop selected, the 360 by 200. Shows us that by our dotted lines. Across the bottom here, we'll just start across. We have preferences, so if you want a grid, that's handy if you're trying to line something up. Being able to view things in 2D or 3D look, I prefer the 3D, so I leave that set. Full screen, it'll actually change this so you can actually see the design. Full screen, just touch it to come back to where we were. For me, the grid is a little hard on my eyes, so I actually usually don't use it or leave it on. I just use it to line something up and then I take it off. Then the park position. The park position is where it will move the embroidery arm all the way to the far left position. That would help you get it back into your embroidery box if you're traveling with it. It's also the same position that it moves to should you go to the sewing mode. So I'm going to skip pushing that, but park position is used when you are done with your embroidery. You have zoom options. So if I want to zoom in on this, zoom to all, so I can take that design and bring it the biggest part of my machine, and you can see here it's like 642%. You also can go zoom to hoop, so that's where we started, so it's a really quick way to go in and out. And there will be a time where we're going to need zoom to box, which you've probably seen with computers. So if I want to zoom in on just that little top left corner, I can just touch and drag a box and that will come up in my screen exactly where I want it to look. And then back to zoom to, not to zoom to box, zoom to hoop. That's the easiest way to be around. You also can use your plus or minus zoom, but sometimes you're not where you can see it because the design travels that way off the screen. And that's where you start to use some of these options down here. For example, this little hand is pan. Pan means you drag the design back into the viewing world, and so it's more centered. And that's why using that zoom to box is very handy because you don't have to move the design side to side. You can get it zoomed in right where you want it to be and a lot easier. So I love that zoom feature, and then once again, zooming out to the edge of the hoop. Okay, here it's going to tell us your design. It has one color and how many total stitches that it actually has within that. So if it had 10 colors, it would show 1 of 10, and then with that. Now right now my toolbar off to the right side is not showing. So touch the toolbar. You can see it can collapse and pop back open. So as we go through here, we can we'll start at the top. This one is actually stepping through design. So if I actually had more than one design on the screen, so why don't we start by actually doing just that. I'm going to select the moving options, and I'll move that one over here. I'm going to duplicate this. If I just touch it one time, I will get 2 designs. I'm going to just flip that one so it's pretty easy and obvious to see. If I duplicate that again, I can get another one. Maybe flip that over here. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3 designs on screen. Notice I can deselect them or select them depending on which box is around which design. So if I do the step through design, it will highlight in the order it's actually going to sew, which was the order I brought them in. I can select different designs, and that's nice because sometimes they're underneath each other, and that's a great way to actually move through. Select all. That's what that one is. And if you don't remember what these are, remember you've got the question mark, and that can actually bring up the little message box of, oh yeah, that one's this. message and so forth. Select all, and also then remove or add a pattern. So if you don't want something selected, you can actually deselect a group. So now I have 2 selected, but not the third one. We've already done duplicate, but notice some of your icons have this little triangle in the bottom right corner. So that means that if I touch and hold, it will come up with a second screen. So a long hold does that. You'll notice it's also down here at the trash can and a few other places. So if I want to duplicate this, say 4 times and touch OK, it will, I had 2 selected, so it actually duplicated everybody 4 times. So I have lots of designs on my screen. And once again, if I didn't want that, I have an undo option. And so I can actually undo what I was doing at that point. So I'm going to just trash the selected designs so I don't have as many on the screen. You saw I used the mirror image. They are blue, indicating that this design has been mirror imaged both up and down and left to right. This one was mirror imaged, just left to right. And this one has nothing, because that was the way it came in. One thing, this is a great one I use a lot of. It's called move to hoop. So for example, if I want this design to stitch in this exact upper corner, and this one I want it to stitch in this upper corner, I can move it outside the stitching area. And watch this. When I touch this, it brings the designs into just where the edge of the hoop is. So you don't have to guess and then have one side out and one side not as close. That is a great feature. If you just take a design and move it out to the side, it will pop it in just directly in from where that design is sitting. But if you go outside a corner, it brings it into the edge of the corner. And that would work down in the lower corners as well. So those are some basic features. Now, down here, you've got kind of a big symbol, the control center. Now, depending on which of these 4 items are blue or selected, that will indicate which you're going to be doing with the control center. So for example, this design is selected and it is in the moving or positioning option. So right now if I use the arrows and it's going really slow because they're very small increments, that's why touching and dragging and then using these to position it right back where you want it to be, very small increments as you go. The next one is rotate. So we'll play with this design. Left and right rotate, okay? And you can also drag it around. So this is a great way to spin your designs around and get them where you want them to be. But if you want to kind of get that back to where you want it to be, you can go ahead and rotate that around. It'll actually show you what your rotation is. And this is also, if you touch it in the middle, it'll be 90 degrees from where you actually started. So if I go back to 0 degrees, and get back to 0, there we go. And then I did 90. It will turn it 90 degrees, which is about usually what you're doing is 90-degree rotation. The next one is to scale. So once again, you can touch and drag it bigger, or you can go ahead and use the arrow keys to go up or down. And if you unlock it in the center of the blue control center, then you can actually make it wider or narrower. Right now I'm making it skinnier, so it's not changing the height, it's only changing the width. And if I touch the arrows at the top, oh, I'm already at the max size. Now I'm actually making it shorter. So you can go short or tall, wide or thin with the scaling option when this is unlocked. But if you wanted to kind of go proportionally, make sure you leave the lock on and then it'll just increase or decrease as needed. And we've already done the pan. This is more of a visual of being able to move the screen side to side or up or down to see things a little bit more when you're zoomed in. You do have an undo, so this will undo a variety of tools that you've actually done. You've got a resize option here, so you can actually come in here and resize. So rescale versus resize, one's going to change the stitches, one's going to make things a lot bigger and better. That's definitely what you want to be using for resizing. You also can go into, I'm going to touch OK there, and come on back out. It's refiguring those stitches. We have color edit, which is down in this area. So if I want to be able to combine your stitches, oh, these have all the same one color here. So I can actually come in and group the colors together and definitely, like if you've got a design with 2 or 3 colors, instead of it doing color 1, 2, 3, color 1, 2, 3, and so forth, you can have it do all the first color. Let's say that's white. It'll do all the white here, all the white here, and all the white here. and then it'll go back and do all the blue, all the blue, and all the blue. So instead of changing it 9 times, you're only changing your thread 3 times, which is a fantastic time saver. If you wanted to save this to your designs, you can save it in the Save to My Designs area, and you can come in here and do that. Again, we'll do a separate video on some of those other things. When you're ready to stitch, you can go ahead and touch go, and this takes you over to the embroidery screen. So once again, having the ability to see your colors, also be able to combine your stitches and get them to be all one, like to stitch out all in one color like a monochrome. This is actually what's considered a fix button, and that will stitch a dotted line before, and that kind of holds all your fabric and stabilizer together before the design starts stitching. Or if you have some fabric that you're not hooped, this is a great way to hoop your stabilizer, lay your fabric over the top of it, tack this down. It's like putting pins in. It's like a basting line that's easy to remove because it's very long stitches, but it'll hold the fabric onto your stabilizer when you start to sew. You can go forward or back through design. So if I go stitch by stitch, I'm going through the first color of my design or the first part of it. We've got the tension here that we can see. We can see how long each color is going to take. Design positioning we're going to be able to use and create, like when we hoop crooked, oh hallelujah, we'll go into that as well. You also have the option to change where your hoop is. If you need to change your bobbin, you can change it so the bobbin is accessible by moving the hoop all the way away, and you can get to your bobbin. Trim position moves the hoop all the way towards you, so you can take your scissors and trim something right here in the hoop and the center of the hoop. So it's really nice. You have the ability to move the hoop wherever you need to go at any given time. So we'll get into all of these other buttons, but definitely that is a quick overview of the embroidery edit and embroidering screens.